Hey there, let me tell you a story about me, Jake Larson. I'm just a regular guy, nothing fancy. I moved into a place called Pinewood Acres not too long ago. It's a quiet little neighborhood with green grass, small houses, and lots of trees. I like it here because it feels cozy, like a big hug from the world. I'm not a loud person. I'm kind of short, pretty quiet, and I love fixing things. As if something's broken, like a chair or a leaky faucet, I'm the guy who grabs a hammer or a wrench and gets to work. People don't notice me much, and that's okay. I'm happy just doing my thing. So when I moved into my new house, I had this one big idea. I wanted to build something cool for my porch. A porch is that little space right outside your front door where you can sit and relax. My porch was nice, but the sun was always shining right in my eyes. It was super bright and hot, and I couldn't enjoy sitting there. I thought, hey, I'll make an awning. An awning is like a little roof that sticks out over the porch. It's not a big deal, just a simple cover to block the sun so I could sit outside, sip some cold lemonade, and watch the birds fly by. I pictured it in my head, a shiny blue awning, strong and pretty, keeping me cool all summer long. Sounded perfect, right? I couldn't wait to get started. I went to the store and bought everything I needed. Blue fabric for the awning, some metal poles to hold it up, and a few tools to put it all together. I worked hard on it for days. I hammered, I measured, I even climbed up a ladder to make sure it was just right. When it was done, I stepped back and looked at it. Wow, it was awesome. The blue color sparkled in the sunlight, and it made my little house look so much better. I grabbed a glass of lemonade, sat under my new awning, and smiled. The sun couldn't bother me anymore. I felt like a king on his throne. Simple, easy, and happy, that's all I wanted. But here, where the trouble started. Not everyone liked my awning as much as I did. Across the street from my house lived a lady named Karen Mitchell. Oh boy, Karen was something else. She wasn't just any neighbor, she was the boss of the HOA. HOA stands for Homeowners Association. It's a group of people who make rules for the neighborhood, like what color your house can be or how tall your grass can grow. Karen loved those rules more than anything. She walked around with a clipboard in one hand, writing stuff down, and a phone in the other, ready to call someone if you broke even the tiniest rule. She acted like she owned the whole street, not just her house. Karen had short hair that was always perfect, and she wore these big sunglasses that made her look like a movie star. But she wasn't nice like a movie star. Nope, she was grumpy all the time. If your dog barked too loud, she'd write it down. If your mailbox was a little crooked, she'd knock on your door and tell you to fix it. Everyone in Pinewood Acres knew Karen. Some people were scared of her. Others just rolled their eyes when she walked by me. I didn't think much about her at first. I was too busy enjoying my new awning. But Karen noticed my awning right away. The first time she saw it, she stopped in the middle of the street. She put her hands on her hips and stared at my house. Her eyes were squinting, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle. I was sitting on my porch sipping lemonade when I saw her looking. She didn't wave or smile, she just glared. It was like my awning made her mad, like it was yelling at her or something. I thought, what's her problem? My awning wasn't hurting anyone. It was just sitting there being blue and helpful. But to Karen, it was a big deal. A really big deal. The next day I was outside watering my flowers when Karen marched over. She didn't walk like a normal person, she stomped like she was on a mission. Her clipboard was tucked under her arm and her phone was already in her hand. She stopped right in front of my porch and pointed at the awning. "What is that?" she said, her voice loud and sharp. I looked up, surprised. "It's an awning," I said, keeping it simple. "It keeps the sun off my porch." She shook her head fast, like I'd said something crazy. "It's too bright," she snapped, "and it's too big. This isn't allowed." I blinked at her. Too bright, too big. It was just an awning. I didn't know what to say, so I just shrugged. "It's fine," I told her. "I like it." But Karen didn't care what I liked. She started writing something on her clipboard, her pen scratching the paper like an angry chicken. "I'm telling the HOA about this," she said. "You can't just put up whatever you want. There are rules, Jake." Then she turned around and stomped back to her house, muttering to herself. I watched her go, feeling a little confused. Rules? What rules? I didn't think an awning would make anyone so mad. After that, Karen kept watching me. Every time I went outside, I'd see her peeking out her window. Her curtains would move a little, and there she was, staring at my awning like it was her worst enemy. Sometimes she'd walk by my house super slow, taking pictures with her phone. Click, click, click. I'd wave at her just to be nice, but she never waved back. She'd just frown and keep walking. The other neighbors started noticing too. One guy, Mr. Tom from next door, leaned over the fence one day and said, "Watch out for Karen, Jake. She's trouble." I laughed and said, "It's just an awning. What's she gonna do?" But deep down, I started to wonder. Why did Karen hate my awning so much? Was it really about the rules, or was something else going on? I didn't know it yet, but Karen was about to make my life a lot more exciting, and not in a good way. See, I had a little secret, something Karen didn't know about me or my awning. It wasn't just a random project I threw together. Oh no, there was more to it than that. A big surprise was hiding right under her nose, and she had no clue. Now, can you guess what it was? Don't worry if you can't, I'll tell you soon. But let's just say this. Karen thought she was the smartest person on the street, but I was about to show her she was wrong. Before we keep going, I've got a question for you. Have you ever had a neighbor like Karen? Someone who gets mad about silly stuff and tries to boss everyone around? I bet you've got a story. Tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you're liking this so far, stick around, because things are about to get wild. My awning wasn't just a piece of fabric and metal. It was the start of something big, something that would turn Pinewood Acres upside down. Karen thought she could scare me, but I wasn't scared. I was ready for what? You'll see. Keep reading and let's find out what happens next. Okay, let's get back to the story. Things were about to heat up in Pinewood Acres, and it all started the day I put up my awning. My name's Jake Larson, and I just finished building this bright blue awning over my porch. It was perfect, straight and level, with a color that popped like a big blue crayon. I loved it. It kept the sun away so I could sit outside with my lemonade and relax. I thought everyone would like it too. I mean, who doesn't like a little shade? But oh boy, I was wrong about that. One person didn't like it at all, and her name was Karen Mitchell. Karen lived right across the street from me. She wasn't just any neighbor, she was the queen of the HOA. That's the group that makes rules for our neighborhood, like how your house should look or what you can put in your yard. Karen loved rules more than anything. She was always walking around with her clipboard writing stuff down and her phone ready to call someone if you did anything she didn't like. The day I put up my awning, she didn't waste a single second. She saw it from her window, and bam, she was on the move. Picture this: I'm standing on my porch, feeling proud of my work. The awning is shining in the sun, and I'm thinking about grabbing a snack. Then I hear footsteps, loud ones. I look up, and there's Karen marching across the street like she's in a big hurry. Her lips were all scrunched up, like she'd just sucked on a sour lemon. She stopped right in front of my house and stared at the awning. Her eyes got narrow, and she pointed at it with one finger like she was accusing it of something bad. "What is that?" And she yelled. Her voice was so loud, I bet the birds in the trees heard her. I stayed calm. "It's an awning, Karen," I said. "It keeps the sun off my porch." Simple, right? But Karen didn't think so. She shook her head fast, like I'd said something totally crazy. "That's against the rules," she snapped. "It's too colorful, it's too big, this isn't allowed here." She kept pointing at it, like my awning was a crime scene and she was the detective. I didn't get it. Too colorful, too big. It was just a piece of blue fabric and some metal poles. How could that break any rules? Karen wasn't done. She crossed her arms and glared at me. "I'm calling the HOA board right now," she said. "They'll make you take it down, Jake. You can't just do whatever you want." I looked at her, still calm, and smiled a little. "Go ahead, Karen," I said. That's all I said, just 3 little words. But oh man, that made her mad. Her face turned pink and she huffed like a dragon puffing out smoke. She pulled her phone out of her pocket, already pressing buttons, and stomped back to her house. I could hear her muttering as she went, something about rules and new people and trouble. I watched her go, standing there on my porch. I wasn't mad or scared. Nope, not even a little bit. See, I had a secret, something Karen didn't know. But before I tell you that, let's talk about what happened next. The neighbors saw the whole thing. People started peeking out their windows, pulling back curtains to watch Karen yell at me. I could see them whispering to each other, their heads closed together. "Poor Jake," they were probably saying. "He's new here, and now Karen's picking on him. He's in big trouble." They thought I was done for, like a mouse caught by a cat. Karen was the big HOA bully, and I was just the quiet guy with a blue awning. They figured I'd lose this fight fast. But here's the thing, I wasn't worried at all, not one bit. While Karen was busy dialing her phone and stomping around, I stood there sipping my lemonade, cool as a cucumber. Why? Because I'd done my homework. Before I even built that awning, I checked some stuff out. I read things, I asked questions, and I found out something important. Karen thought she was the boss of Pinewood Acres. She acted like she made all the rules and everyone had to listen to her. But she didn't know everything. Nope. She had no idea who she was messing with when she picked a fight with me. Let's back up a little. After Karen left, the neighborhood got quiet again. The sun was still shining, the birds were chirping, and my awning was doing its job. I sat down in my chair and watched the street. Everything looked normal, but I knew trouble was coming. Karen wasn't the kind of person who gave up easy. She loved being in charge, and she hated when things didn't go her way. My awning, it was like a big blue flag waving in her face, saying, "I'm here and I'm not moving." To her, that was a challenge, and Karen didn't like challenges. Sure enough, the next day she was back at it. I was outside watering my plants, just sprinkling some water on my flowers when I saw her again. This time she didn't march over. She stayed across the street, standing in her yard, staring at my house. She had her clipboard in one hand and her phone in the other, like always. She wrote something down, then held up her phone and took a picture of my awning. Click, then another one. Click. I waved at her just to be nice. Morning, Karen. I called out, but she didn't wave back. She just frowned, wrote something else on her clipboard, and walked away. That's when I started to see how serious she was. This wasn't just about an awning to her. It was a war. She wanted to win and she wanted me to lose. She thought I was some new guy who didn't know the rules, someone she could boss around. But I wasn't just some guy. I had a plan and I had something up my sleeve, something big. Karen didn't know it yet, but she was about to find out. She wasn't as smart as she thought. The neighbors kept watching too. Mr. Tom, the guy who lived next door, came over to my fence that afternoon. He's an older man with gray hair and a friendly smile. "Hey Jake," he said, leaning on the fence. "You okay after yesterday? Karen's mad about that awning, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah, she's mad," I said, "but I'm not worried." Mr. Tom raised his eyebrows. "Really, she's tough, you know. She's been running this HOA stuff for years. Nobody messes with her." I just smiled again. "We'll see," I said. He looked at me funny, like he wasn't sure what I meant, then shrugged and went back to his yard. By now, you're probably wondering what my secret was. Why was I scared of Karen? What did I know that she did? I'll give you a tiny hint. It had to do with the awning, but not just the awning. There was more to the story, something I found out before I even moved here. Karen thought she could scare me with her phone calls and her clipboard, but I was ready for her. She was picking a fight she didn't know she'd lose. So the tension was building. Karen was mad, the neighbors were whispering, and I was just sitting there waiting. It was like a big storm cloud getting ready to burst. Something was going to happen soon and it was going to be wild. Can you feel it? That little tickle in your stomach that says, "Oh boy, this is getting good." That's what I felt too. Karen had no clue what was coming, and I couldn't wait to see her face when she found out. What do you think happened next? Did Karen call the HOA? Did she try something sneaky? Or did I do something to surprise her? Stick around, because this story's just getting started. I promise it's going to be fun. And hey, have you ever had someone like Karen try to boss you around? Tell me about it. I'd love to know. Let's keep going and see how this all turns out. Alright, let's keep this story rolling. My name's Jake Larson, and things were getting wild in Pinewood Acres. It all started with my bright blue awning, the one I built to keep the sun off my porch. I thought it was awesome, but Karen Mitchell, my grumpy neighbor across the street, hated it. She was the HOA queen, the boss of all the neighborhood rules, and she was mad, really mad. Days went by after she first yelled at me, and oh boy, she didn't calm down. Nope, she got louder and meaner, like a storm that just keeps growing. At first, it was just her stomping over and telling me my awning broke the rules. She said it was too big and too colorful, and she was going to call the HOA board to make me take it down. I wasn't scared, though. I told her, "Go ahead, Karen," and smiled. That made her huff and puff, but I didn't think much of it. I figured she'd complain for a day or two and then forget about it. But Karen wasn't the forgetting type. She was the fighting type, and she was ready to make my life tricky. A few days later, I found something on my front door. It was a note, a nasty one. I opened my door in the morning to get the mail, and there it was, stuck right on the wood with a piece of tape. The note was written in big angry letters, "Take it down or else." No name, but I knew who wrote it. Karen's handwriting was all over it, sharp and messy, like she was so mad she could barely hold the pen. I pulled the note off, read it, and laughed a little. "Or else what?" I said to myself. What was she going to do? Yell at me some more? I tossed the note in the trash and went back to my day. But that wasn't the end of it. The next day, another note showed up. This one said, "You'll be sorry if you don't listen." I found it stuck to my mailbox this time, flapping in the wind. I shook my head and threw it away again. Karen was trying to scare me, but I wasn't scared, not even a little. See, I had a secret, something I found out before all this started. I'll tell you about it soon, but for now, let's just say I wasn't worried about her silly notes. They were like little paper tantrums, and I wasn't going to let them ruin my fun. But Karen didn't stop with notes. Oh no, she got sneakier. One morning, I looked out my window and saw her across the street. She was holding her phone up, pointing it right at my awning. Click, click, she was taking pictures, snapping away like a detective in a movie. I could hear her muttering to herself even from my house. "Fines, lawyers, this is proof," she said under her breath. "Fines, lawyers." She was talking about money I'd have to pay and people who fight in court. She really thought she could win this awning war. I watched her for a minute, then went back to eating my cereal. Let her take her pictures, I thought. She didn't know what I knew. Then came the wildest day yet. It was a sunny afternoon and I was outside sweeping my porch. The awning was doing its job, keeping me cool while I worked. I was humming a little song, feeling good, when I heard a noise. Rustle, rustle. I looked up and there she was, Karen. She was standing right on my grass, holding a tape measure. You know, one of those long yellow things you use to see how big stuff is. She was stretching it out, measuring my awning from one end to the other. She was on my property, not hers, bending down and muttering numbers to herself. "Too long, too wide," she grumbled. I couldn't believe it. She was sneaking onto my yard. I stepped out from under the awning and waved at her. "Hey, Karen," I called. "Having fun?" She jumped a little, like she didn't expect me to catch her. Her face turned bright red like a tomato and she dropped the tape measure for a second. She picked it up fast, trying to act like nothing happened. "This is serious, Jake," she snapped. "I'm getting evidence, you'll see." Then she kept measuring, stretching that tape all over my awning like it was some big science project. I just stood there watching her, trying not to laugh. Evidence? For what? She was so sure she'd win, but she didn't know she was digging her own hole. After a minute, she finished. She rolled up her tape measure, wrote something on her clipboard, and marched back to her house. Her shoes made little stomping sounds on the pavement, thump, thump, thump. I waved again as she left, but she didn't look back. She was too busy planning her next move. I went back to sweeping, shaking my head. Karen thought she was so smart, but I wasn't playing her game. I was quiet, sure, but I wasn't dumb. I'd been watching her this whole time, letting her think she was in charge. But the truth, I had something up my sleeve, something she'd never guess. See, I'd done some digging of my own before I even built that awning. Not with a shovel, but with my brain. I read stuff, the HOA rules to be exact. The HOA has this big book full of all the things you can and can't do in Pinewood Acres. It's boring, with tiny words and lots of pages, but I went through it anyway. And guess what? I found something small, hidden way down in the fine print. Fine print is the little writing at the bottom that nobody usually reads. But I read it and it was like finding a treasure chest. That little something was my secret weapon, and Karen was about to trip right over it. I didn't tell anyone what I found, not yet. Not the neighbors, not Karen, not even Mr. Tom, the nice guy next door who kept warning me about her. I kept it to myself, waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, Karen kept getting louder and bossier. After the tape measure day, she started talking to people. I saw her knocking on doors, showing her pictures and notes to the other neighbors. "Look at this awning," she'd say, waving her phone around. "It's against the rule. We can't let this happen." Some people nodded, scared of her, others just shrugged and closed their doors. But everyone was watching now. The whole street was buzzing about me and my awning. One evening, I was sitting on my porch, enjoying the cool air. The sun was going down and my awning made a nice shadow over my chair. I heard voices across the street. Karen again. She was standing in her yard with two other ladies, pointing at my house. "He thinks he can ignore me," she said, loud enough for me to hear. "But I'll show him. The HOA will fix this." The ladies nodded, and one of them said, "You're right, Karen, it's too bright." I sipped my lemonade and smiled to myself. Let her talk, I thought. She was making a big fuss, but it was all noise. She didn't have the power she thought she did. The next day I saw something new. Karen stuck a sign in her yard, a little white one with red letters. It said, "Follow the rules." She kept pointing at it when people walked by, then pointing at my awning. It was like she was saying, "Look at Jake, he's bad." I laughed when I saw it. A sign, really? She was trying so hard to make me look like the bad guy, but I wasn't mad. I was patient. I knew something she didn't, and that made all her yelling and measuring and note writing kind of funny. So what was my secret weapon? Can you guess? I'll give you a hint. It was in those HOA rules and it was about my awning. Something tiny but super important. Karen was sure she'd win this fight, but she was wrong. Every time she snapped a picture or left a note, she was getting closer to a big surprise. I didn't say a word about it yet. I just watched and waited, letting her think she was the boss. But soon, oh very soon, she'd find out the truth. And when she did, her face was going to be even redder than that tape measure day. What do you think I found in those rules? Any ideas? And have you ever had someone try to boss you around like Karen? Tell me about it. I'd love to hear. This story's getting juicy and we're not done yet. Stick around, because the best part's coming up next. Okay, let's get to the best part of the story. My name's Jake Larson and I live in Pinewood Acres. I'd been having a big fight with my neighbor Karen about my bright blue awning. She hated it and kept trying to make me take it down. She left notes, took pictures, and even measured it with a tape measure on my yard. She thought she was the boss because she ran the HOA, the group that makes rules for our neighborhood. But I had a secret, and the big day finally came when everything changed. Get ready, this is wild. It was a sunny morning and I was inside my house eating a peanut butter sandwich. Suddenly I heard a loud noise outside, sirens, you know, the wails that police cars make. Wee-oo, wee-oo. I peeked out my window and sure enough, a police car pulled up right in front of my house. Two cops stepped out wearing their blue uniforms and shiny badges. My heart beat a little faster. What was going on? Then I saw her, Karen. She was standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed over her chest, with a big smirk on her face. A smirk is like a sneaky smile, and hers was huge. She looked like she'd just won a giant prize. I opened my door and stepped onto my porch right under my awning. The cops walked up my path and Karen followed behind them, pointing at me. "Officers," she shouted. Arrest him. That awning is a public nuisance. A nuisance is something that bothers people, like a loud noise or a messy yard. She was saying my awning was so bad it broke the law. I couldn't believe it. Karen had called 911, the real police, over my awning. The neighbors started peeking out their windows again, watching the show. They probably thought I was in big trouble now. The two cops stopped in front of me. One was tall with short hair and the other was a little shorter with a friendly face. They looked at Karen, then at me, then up at my awning. It was still there, bright blue and perfect, keeping the sun off my porch. Karen kept talking, her voice loud and bossy. See, it's too big, too colorful, it's against all the rules, take him away. She was so sure she'd won. That smirk on her face got even bigger, like she was already celebrating. The cops didn't say anything yet, they just stood there looking at us. I didn't panic, nope, not me. I stayed calm as could be, like I was just chilling with my lemonade. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. It was folded up, a little wrinkled, but super important. I stepped forward and held it out to the cops. Check this out, I said, nice and easy. The tall cop took it and unfolded it. Karen tilted her head, confused. What's that? She snapped. Some trick, it won't help you. But I didn't answer her. I just waited, watching the cops read. The paper was from the HOA rulebook. That's the big book of rules Karen loved so much. I'd found something in it, something on page 47, section 3. It said, all property modifications approved by the original builder are exempt from HOA review. Okay, let's break that down. Property modifications means changes you make to your house, like adding an awning. Approved by the original builder means the person who built the houses in the first place said it was okay. And exempt from HOA review means the HOA, like Karen, can't say no to it. Guess what? My awning was approved by the builder. And guess who the builder was? My uncle. Yep, my Uncle Mike built all the houses in Pinewood Acres years ago. He's a big guy with a loud laugh and he loves helping me out. When I told him I wanted an awning, he said, go for it, Jake, I approve it. He even signed a little note for me just in case. That note was on the paper too, right under the rule. So my awning wasn't against the rules, it was allowed. Karen couldn't touch it, no matter how much she yelled. The cops read the paper and the tall one started to smile. The shorter one nodded, like he got it. Then they looked at Karen. Ma'am, the tall cop said, this awning's fine, it's approved. Karen's smirk disappeared fast. Her mouth opened like she wanted to argue, but no words came out. She just stared at the paper, then at me, then back at the paper. What? She finally shouted. That's not true, he's lying. But the cops shook their heads. It's right here, the shorter one said, tapping the rule book. He's allowed to have it. And then came the best part, the really big reveal. I grinned and said, oh, and one more thing, Karen. I pointed at the cops. Meet my cousins, Tom and Riley. Yep, those two cops, they were family. Tom was the tall one and Riley was the shorter one. They'd been laughing about this awning fight all week because I told them how crazy Karen was getting. When she called 911, they made sure they were the ones to come check it out. They wanted to see her face when I showed my secret weapon. Karen's jaw dropped. I mean, it fell so fast I thought it might hit the ground. Her eyes got huge and her face turned redder than a fire truck. Cousins, she squeaked. This is ridiculous. Tom chuckled and said, nope, it's all legit, ma'am. Jake, in the clear. Riley added, you might wanna chill out next time before calling us. The neighbors watching from their windows started giggling. I could hear them through the glass, little laughs spreading down the street. Karen didn't know what to say. She stood there, arms still crossed, but now she looked silly, not scary. Her big plan to get me in trouble had fallen apart. My awning was safe and I'd won without even raising my voice. The cops, my cousins, gave me a little nod, like a secret high five. "See you at dinner, Jake," Tom said with a wink. Then they turned and walked back to their car, leaving Karen standing there, fuming. I looked at her and shrugged. "Told you it was fine," I said. She huffed one last time, spun around, and stomped back to her house. The smirk was gone, and so was her power. My awning stayed right where it was, shining in the sun. And me, I went back inside to finish my sandwich, feeling pretty good. So what do you think? Pretty cool, right? Karen thought she was so smart, but I had the rules and my family on my side. Have you ever surprised someone who was being mean to you? Tell me about it. This was the big moment, but there's more to come. Stick around for the rest. Alright, let's wrap up the big fight over my awning. I'm Jake Larson, and I just shown Karen, the HOA boss, that my bright blue awning wasn't going anywhere. The cops, my cousins Tom and Riley, had come to my house because Karen called 911 saying my awning was a problem. But I had a secret. The rules said my awning was okay because my uncle, the builder, approved it. When the cops saw that, Karen's plan fell apart. Now it was time for everything to settle down. The cops turned to Karen. Tom, the tall one, spoke first. "Ma'am, there's no crime here," he said. He was trying hard not to grin, but I could see the corners of his mouth twitching. "But you might wanna stop wasting our time." Karen's face got all scrunched up, like she didn't know what to say. She opened her mouth and sputtered, "This is outrageous. I'll sue." Sue means taking someone to court to fight them with lawyers. Riley, the shorter cop, just shrugged his shoulders. "Good luck with that," he said, super calm. They weren't scared of her at all. Karen didn't like that. She huffed, her breath coming out loud and fast. Her clipboard was still in her hand and it was shaking because she was so mad. She glared at me one last time, then spun around and stormed off. Her shoes went stomp, stomp, stomp on the sidewalk as she marched back to her house across the street. I watched her go, feeling pretty good. She thought she'd win, but nope, not today. Then something cool happened. The neighbors, who'd been watching from their windows, stepped out onto their porches. And guess what? They started clapping. Clap, clap, clap. It echoed down the street. Turns out they were sick of Karen too. She'd been bossing everyone around for years and they were happy someone finally stood up to her. Mr. Tom, my next-door neighbor, gave me a big thumbs up. "Nice job, Jake," he called. I waved back, smiling. Later, I heard more good news. Karen didn't give up right away. She tried complaining to the HOA board. She called them and told them all about my awning, saying it was against the rules. But the board already knew about my uncle's approval. They told her, "Sorry, Karen, Jake's right, the awning stays." She couldn't do anything about it. Her big fight was over and she lost. My awning stayed right where it was, bright and proud over my porch. That evening I grabbed a glass of lemonade and sat outside. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I sipped my drink, cool and happy, watching the colors fade. I turned the tables on Karen, made her lose without even raising my voice. I didn't yell or fight. I just used the rules and a little help from my family. It felt awesome. So that's how it ended. Karen was quiet after that, and my awning kept me shady all summer. Justice was served and I won. What do you think? Pretty sweet, right? Have you ever won a fight without yelling? Tell me about it. Hey, it's me, Jake Larson, back one last time. We've been through a wild ride with my bright blue awning and Karen, the HOA boss who tried to take it down. She called the cops, left mean notes, and even measured my awning, but I won in the end. My secret. The rules said my awning was okay because my uncle approved it, and my cousins, the cops, helped me show her up. Now that it's all over, I want to tell you something important. It's a little lesson I learned, and I think it can help you too. So here's the thing, sometimes the loudest people think they're in charge. Karen was like that. She yelled, she bossed everyone around, and she acted like she owned Pinewood Acres. She thought being loud made her the winner, but guess what? It's not always the loud ones who have the power. Sometimes it's the quiet ones like me who really come out on top. I didn't shout or fight. I stayed calm, used my brain, and had a good plan. And that's what beat her. Karen thought she could push me around because I was new and quiet. She didn't see me coming at all. I was like a sneaky ninja waiting for the right moment to surprise her. When the cops showed up and I pulled out that rule book, her big loud plan fell apart. It was awesome. So next time someone tries to boss you or push you down, don't worry. You don't have to yell back or get mad. A little patience and a smart idea can flip the whole game. That means you can turn things around and win, even if they think they're stronger. Think about it. Maybe you've got a bully at school who's loud and mean. Or maybe there's someone who thinks they're better than you. You don't have to be loud like them. You can be quiet and clever like I was with my awning. Find your own secret weapon. Maybe it's knowing something they don't, or having friends who help you out. Wait for the right time, then bam, you show them you're not so small after all. That's real power, and it feels so good when it works. So what would you have done if you were me? Would you have built the awning anyway, knowing Karen would get mad? Or would you have tried something else to trick her? I'd love to hear your ideas. Tell me below. I bet you've got some cool plans up your sleeve. And hey, if you liked this story, give it a big thumbs up. I had fun telling it, and I've got more stories like this to share. Maybe next time it'll be about a treehouse or a sneaky dog, who knows? The big lesson here is simple. Don't let loud people scare you. You've got your own power, even if you're quiet. Be patient, be smart, and you can win your own awning fight someday. You're awesome just the way you are, believe it. See you next time.